Okay, a very good afternoon to all of you. I hope all of you can hear me. So today we will be looking at a few of the technical formats of business communication, some material which in this regard has already been sent to you in the interim. So we will get started with notice, for example. Okay, some more people waiting here. Let me just put them in. Okay, so as you can see here, that we are going to talk about uh, the first of these formats, which is notice. Notices are essentially a very specialized form of communication, which is targeted at a particular group of persons or still some people coming. Nitya Kajaria, Akshay. Okay, we will be locking the meeting shortly. So after this, we will not be allowing anyone else to participate. uh, so the notices are a means of formal communication which is targeted at either a particular person or it could also be. Okay, again, there seems to be some people. Okay, CR will let me know if there are any other intrusions apart from the one that I just showed. Okay, so notices therefore is about sharing information, sharing uh, information of importance with the persons to whom it is targeted. It can either be an invitation to a meeting or it can also be an announcement of any event. It can also be about issuing certain new instructions. Notices can be sent to the person or persons concerned uh, through a variety of media. It can be sent over postal mail. It can be sent over courier. It can also be sent over email or fax. It can be written and then displayed at a public place where anybody or the targeted people audience could be would have a look.
So can you remove Reem Sharif?
No.
Okay, let me check now again.
Chutiya Sadi.
I did not find the named person. Can you identify once again?
So you can continue.
Okay. Right. So as we were saying that there are a whole lot of media through which notices can be sent. So nowadays, of course, notices are sent over email. It can be even sent over newer advances like WhatsApp. But of course, the conventional methods of communicating through notices is putting it up in the public notice board, and of course, it could also be sent through courier or post or even fax. Right. Naturally, if the notice is meant for a wider audience, then these techniques may not be appropriate, which means that if you put it up in the public place, it may not satisfy the needs of reaching out to X number of people to whom it is meant for. For example, government notices often require that the information reaches out to a whole lot of people. That is the reason why they are sometimes published in the national newspapers and even in local newspapers. For example, if you take other examples, like for example, if you are a member of the Cricket Association of Bengal or any other such cricketing club, then when your membership is going to get renewed, this kind of information is normally published in newspapers, because naturally for the association to send out individual notices to each and every member may not be possible during a short period of time. So sometimes these notices are made available in well-publicized, well-read newspapers. Here is a small example of a notice. Now, regarding the format, since notices are meant to be a formal document, it should follow a certain structure or a format. However, we must keep in mind that there is nothing called incorrect structure or correct structure. Everything is okay as long as the needs are met. Okay. Again, we see two people waiting here. Okay. So I am going to lock the meeting now and won't be allowing any more in for security issues. Okay. So, as I said, that as long as the needs are met, there isn't really a correct structure or an incorrect structure. Different formats are used by different people and organizations. Okay, um, and obviously you will find from one organization to another organization, there is always going to be some differences. Generally speaking, there are certain things which must be available in a notice. For example, whoever is issuing the notice, the name of the organization or the authority must be clearly identified. It should appear right at the very top. Okay, so the name of the person or the organization that is issuing the said notice, so that the reader is able to recognize or understand straight away. As also, he's able to render it the right kind of importance. Then comes the title. When writing notices, we mention the title notice at the top in capital letters. This helps us to draw attention to the document. Public notices are generally posted, as I said, in a public place, which is meant for everyone who, who is in the vicinity or who comes to that office, or if not everyone, to many people. And as I said, that it can also be published in newspapers. For example, in many cases, we find that when we are buying some property, there are some legal requirements regarding issuing a notice stating that you are buying that property, so that anyone who has a stake and is not aware that the property is being sold, and then he comes to know about it. So there are certain legal requirements for such notices. Right. And then, of course, you must have a date in the notice. So it's very important because it gives formal touch to the notice, and notices are meant to be a formal document. Then, of course, you may have a heading which should clearly state the purpose of the notice. So it could be some meeting that is going to take place. It could be about some changes in the work hours or something. Okay. And after the heading, we write the brief to the point body of the notice. And of course, at the end of the notices, we must write the name and designation of the author. Okay, and it must be duly signed or stamped by that particular person. So, in general, notices should cover a few important points. Okay, and these are often referred as the 5 W's. The first is what? What is this notice about? So, if you read the notice, then this what part should be clear, right? So, it could be something to do with maybe an event that's going to happen, or it could be about something which has already happened in the past. Okay, so some occasion that has taken place in the past. So, so this is the crust of the message, and it should be written very clearly, no ambiguity, right? And because this is the very reason of generation of this notice. Then comes the where. So, in case there is some event that has been discussed for which you are invited, or you're inviting your audience, or it talks about an event that has already happened, then where did it happen, or where is it going to happen? The location must be clearly stated as well. Then, of course, comes the when part. Okay, so event, meeting, whatever you're talking about, must have a time, and this time also must be spelled out clearly. If possible, the duration of the event should also be mentioned, because people have, a lot of commitments these days. People have their own professional and personal engagements. So always a good idea, if you're sending a notice with regards to an invitation to an event, you must state the time frame within which you are expecting this event to take place, so that you allow proper planning to the participants. And of course, after the when comes the who, right? So this will be who the notice is addressed, right? So notices are not meant for everybody. It could be people who are members of a certain association, or it could be certain kinds of members. It could be addressed to maybe the life members, or it could be addressed only to the annual members. Like, for example, if you are inviting them to renew their membership, the renewal aspect will not apply to live members, because live members don't need to get their cards renewed. It is the annual members who will need to get their cards renewed by making the annual subscription payment. Right? Similarly, if within an organization, it is meant for the people who are working in the marketing department, maybe a get-together has been organized to celebrate the success of a very good season in which a lot of sales have been achieved, previous records have been broken. So in that case, obviously this would be addressed to the people who are working in the marketing department. And then of course comes the whom part, okay? And that is a very important whom, because the event, the occasion, whatever it is that we are talking about, it must be conducted smoothly. It must be planned, designed, and executed properly. And there will always be a person or two or more who would be responsible for overseeing all of this. So there will be a contact person to whom you should get in touch with, right? And that person's name in such cases must be mentioned along with his coordinates, the mobile number to whom you can, at which you can make a call, or maybe an email ID where you can shoot a mail, right? So you must have a person named who would be the contact point in this case. Right. So here are certain tips which you must keep in mind while writing a notice. You must be precise and to the point. Mind you, notices are not meant to be a thesis. They are very, very short actually. Okay. On an average, the ideal length should not exceed 50 words. So that's all the more reason why you should write in precise language. I think if you are good in writing tweets in Twitter, etc., then you should be able to write good notices, because Twitter somehow teaches us to confine our thoughts within a certain number of words or characters. So here notices also must not exceed 50 words. It's a formal form of communication, so the language used must be as formal. Better not to use any flowery text, because here our command of the English language, or how well we are in Shakespearean thoughts, are not being tested. Okay, the idea is to communicate effectively, so people should know what this is all about, and people should respond appropriately. And if you want to ensure that that happens, then naturally you have to ensure that it is, written in simple and precise language. Sentences should be short and simple. This is something which I have been telling you all along, I suppose, that if you really want to improve your written English skills, whether in business or anywhere else, then the best way to get started is to use short sentences. And this does not just apply to people who may feel that their proficiency is not good enough, but it's also meant for those people who are wanting to improve their communication skills. Okay, so you must use short and simple sentences, and this very much applies in this kind of a format that is notices. Right, and you must use the passive voice instead of the active voice. You must present your notices in a proper format in a box. Presentation should be neat, and most importantly, it should appeal to the eye so that people actually, read the notice. So here's an example for you. It's of a housing society's notice. It's about a Diwali gathering. And it says, on the auspicious occasion of Diwali, the society has organized a gathering followed by a dinner. All members of the society are requested to attend the event at the clubhouse of the society at 8 p.m. on 30th of October. And then there is the signature of the authority, the concerned person, the chairman of ABC Cooperative Housing Society. Right. So that's the a small format of a notice. Right. So I hope you've understood what a notice is. So basically, therefore, what we need to know is what a notice is, what is its utility. Okay. There can be various reasons as to why a notice can be written. We've reviewed some of these reasons. It could be, as I said, any kind of sharing of information, starting like sharing an event and occasion, but it's not just about that, mind you, though the example again might make you feel that it's all about that. It's not. It could also be about some, as I said, some change in the working conditions, some change in maybe the uniform the office personnel are supposed to wear, right? So it could be anything. It could be about the lunch times being changed. It could be some changes that has taken place in the menu of the canteen. So all kinds of information related to running an organization. It can come in there. And of course, we have also learned some of the essentials as to what should go in the notice. Okay, the 5 W's, and we've also seen a format, okay, as to how things should appear step by step in a good notice. And also, of course, we have learned some tips of writing the notice. Right. The other technical formats which we would like to review this afternoon and discuss this afternoon rather, and that is the other one is the memorandum, right? Sometimes we tend to confuse memo and memorandum because we often use it interchangeably, which is fine, right, as long as it suits our purpose. But please try to understand that the word memorandum has a much wider connotation in written communication. Okay, so memos, which you have already studied, I have discussed this with you earlier, are pre-formatted communication modes which are used by the organization's executives and managers to communicate among themselves. I have discussed with you various kinds of memos. There are memos to make a request. There are memos to confirm on certain things discussed in the meeting. There can be memos to report certain things, including sales figures, etc. And you can also have memos where new ideas are suggested, right? However, as I said, memorandum has a much wider connotation. Okay, it is a written message in business. Okay, and mind you, it is not just restricted to business. Memorandum has some place in society, community, politics, and even in international diplomacy. Okay, the idea of these messages, which are contained in the memorandum, is to bring those messages to the kind notice of higher authorities. Okay, you or whoever drafts the memorandum in this case wants the higher authorities to pay some attention to that particular matter which has been highlighted there. For example, you may have certain teachers, okay, maybe teachers in government schools who are agitating, okay, because they want better pay, they want better working conditions, and they decide to submit a memorandum to the education minister, right? So that is an example of a memorandum. So teachers in government schools getting together and submitting a memorandum to improve working conditions and pay to the education minister of a particular state. Similarly, we can also have the opposition parties in a particular state. So that is something which is very common. You must be seeing it all the time happening here and in other states, right? And they get together, all the different parties, and they submit a joint memorandum to the governor of the state, right? Because the governor is the constitutional head of the state. So they may have lost confidence in the elected chief minister. So in that case, what they can do is they can, approach the governor, right? And that is what happens in most states in case the opposition is not very happy with the way certain things may have gone. So it could be about deteriorating law and order condition. It could be about how the government has dealt with a certain matter, etc. Now, the word memorandum, mind you, is singular. It's about one. Memoranda is the word which is the plural form. And it must follow again certain cardinal principles of professional writing. And these cardinal principles are accuracy, brevity, and clarity. Okay. One of the other right-hand thumb rules with regards to memorandum is that if you are making any claims, it must be supported with appropriate evidence. Okay. Memorandum can also be about future course of action. We can have a memorandum of understanding, for example, amongst two parties, two business groups. They have come into a new collaborative venture. Okay. And memorandum can be signed amongst two heads of the state, okay, on defense cooperation. So I gave you two other examples, one from the business field where two different business groups, two different organizations, they have entered into a collaborative venture, like Maruti and Suzuki entered into this collaborative venture. It's still running good. It was entered way back in the 80s. Hero and Honda entered into such a collaborative venture and it ran successfully for many years, right? Similarly, there can be, as I said, a memorandum that is signed between two heads of state of countries on issues like defense cooperation, issues like food supply, there could be a whole lot of things. Okay, so it's essentially a contract. Okay, therefore the guidelines of the country's law of contract must be duly followed. Again, the word memorandum, those of you who are from commerce background already may have been exposed to this, that we have a memorandum of association for private limited or limited companies. Okay. Interestingly, in short, for easy recall, this is often referred as the memo. So such a document has all the legal details. It's like the face of the organization, the outside world. Idea of having a memorandum is to ensure that people, whoever reads it, is able to get a clear idea as to what the company is into, what its mission is, and also what the future course of action is. Right? Now, the memorandum, along with the articles of association, articles of association is about how the organization should be managed internally, indoor management. These are the two key pillars of any company, right? So obviously, again, the way we write these memorandum is per the guidelines of the relevant laws, Company Act. Okay, so you saw therefore that the word memorandum can have a very wide connotation. They are used in different ways in society, community, business. Okay, so this is something which we have to appreciate. So within an organization also, we may submit a memorandum to somebody, okay, to some higher authority. Maybe there also we are not happy with certain things, and we may do the same as we do in a different setting. Okay, now one last area which we will cover today, because we are running out of time, just about, I think, 4 minutes are left. So we'll just go through another important technical format, and this is called the agenda. What is the agenda? Agenda is, of course, related to our meeting. And what the agenda does, it furnishes a list of meeting activities, and it must be furnished in a logical sequence. The sequence in which it will be taken up, actually taken up in the meeting. Okay, so when the meeting is called to order, right, till its conclusion with the ending with the adjournment, the way it will proceed, your activities should reflect that flow. The agenda should reflect that flow. Okay, so the very purpose of the meeting guides the agenda. Like, for example, if it is just about sharing of information, then the agenda will have a different look, where we will seek inputs and we will try to arrive at certain decisions based on those inputs. Sometimes we may not have so much time, right? Because if we want to get each and everyone's inputs and then deliberate on those and then come to a conclusion, it is going to take a hell lot of time. So we may not want that to happen. So in such cases, what we will do is we will simply take decisions. And the purpose of calling this meeting is essentially not to get inputs from the participants, but to share the decisions that we are going to take. Okay. So like, for example, if we want to make some changes in the working hours, in a meeting where sharing of information will take place, we will ask for inputs, and on that basis we will deliberate. Okay, some people will say, no, this time is right, and they will explain why that time is right, etc., etc. And then we will decide on the basis of pros and cons. But when we do not have the time for all this, we will straight away hold a meeting and come to the point that, look here, this is what we have decided. And this is just to share it with you before it gets finalized or before it's enacted. So if decision making is at the core, then of course the way the meeting is conducted has to keep that in mind, because you can't drag things too long in that case. And again, if you need inputs from participants, there again you have to manage your time very well so that everyone gets an opportunity to share their views and there is ample time for deliberations. Many people feel all details must be recorded, and I think that's a reasonable ask, because we do not want to see any controversy later. Okay, so that's the reason why you will see that in many meetings, every detail is included. So virtually nothing goes unrecorded. However, there are certain professionals and practitioners who also feel that the secretary or the chair do not need to record everything. All he or she needs to do is to go by the actionable deliverables. So what we have decided to do at the end of the meeting, only those actionable deliverables, if we are able to record, should be fine. So as I said, there's a difference of opinion, but as I said also that if you go too brief, then there could be a controversy later on, and people may just question as to how you arrived at this. So better to give as much as detail possible.